I belong and I pledge my allegiance to African Feminist Charter of Principle. One is identity, and two is a claiming back the power, and three is an ideology. And I think the ideology part is critical in my feminism because it's where now you place the nuance, the history, the theories, and claiming the power that we are not just women, we are women who have defined odds. Feminism to me is the tool and lens through which I see the world.
For African feminists, our work on gender and climate touches on our lives in a very deep and unique way. One true and radical form of feminism that we've seen in Africa is a very ecofeminist approach, a very important ideology that places the well-being of women and the well-being of nature as one. The ecofeminist way was the way of life before colonization. African women, pastoral women, for instance, women who lived in forests, indigenous women, women who lived next to water bodies, they did use these resources, but they didn't do it in an extractive manner as we're seeing now. And they organized and they made sure that they replenished these resources.
All the government delegates who are going into COP, they ought to understand we are losing hope. And they need to restore that hope, not just for themselves, but to restore hope for the next generation.
I'm currently at the convergence of youth and women, and I think it's really important that we have inclusive spaces that includes girls and women's voices. We are not, all blocked up into just one, gender. We have different lived experiences and intersectional experiences, and that means that it's really important to hear inputs and voices from each of these groups. So really, we want to remove that idea of the burden of hope on young people and really put power back in their hands, bringing them in conversation, actively and intentionally letting them participate in these conversations, learning about the process.
As a young African woman negotiator, the key demands for African and African women mainly is the establishment of a stand-alone financial facility for loss and damage. Because under the Paris Agreement and the Convention, parties have agreed to avert, minimize, and address loss and damage. We're talking about people having low yield in the agricultural products and farmers having to deal with the trauma and the mental health issues. We're talking about economic and non-economic losses. So we need a stand-alone financial facility that will deal with loss and damage on the continent. Especially for African women, we look at the whole patriarchal system. You have men actually benefiting from the insurance system, while women are the ones actually working on farms and doing the agricultural work. And sometimes the social cultural norms, like women can swim or they can climb trees when we have sea level rise or flooding. So you see, the impacts on men and women are different. So we need to take into account gender vulnerabilities and make sure to mainstream gender in every aspect of loss and damage.
Donc, le problème dans les modèles financiers qui n'intègrent pas les femmes pose beaucoup de problèmes. Parce qu'on ne peut pas faire des investissements dans un pays où la majorité, c'est des femmes, et les investissements n'arrivent pas au niveau des femmes. Donc c'est un problème de justice sociale. On dit toujours, pour marcher juste, doit marcher sur ses deux pieds. Donc pour le climat, on est tous d'accord que les femmes présentent beaucoup plus de vulnérabilité, compte tenu de leurs rôles sociaux. Donc c'est pourquoi on a dit qu'il faut un budget sensible au genre et sensible au climat. Donc pour pouvoir toucher efficacement et améliorer la situation des femmes impactées par le climat.
When it comes to funding the feminist movement, our feminist approaches must be appreciated, and our funding should mimic these important approaches. That way will build legitimacy. The communities will trust that the work that they're doing is for their own good.
We need to invest a lot of energy in making sure that our adaptation plans, like they are really designed to transform the position and alter relations of power. Equally, we need to have the same investment and engagement in mitigation to make sure they do the same.
We've seen a lot of organizing that's being done by women in particular. And so the organizing that is done is actually about survival, and the resistance we are also seeing from Africa is also about us finding space in a system that has already been set. It's important for us to think about how emancipation of women would also lead to emancipation of, environment.